Welcome back to County Connection. For this next segment, we're going to introduce you to your new Summit County Treasurer and Assessor. Welcome, Ryne Scholl and Frank Celico.
Thanks, Julie.
All right, so the two of you are pretty fresh off of your swearing in. When was it that you were sworn in?
January 1st.
And January 6th for me.
All right, exciting. So you're getting settled in your new offices and the wheels are turning. So Ryne, why don't you start off telling us what exactly does the Treasurer's Office do?
Yeah, the Treasurer's Office is responsible for collecting all $110 million of property taxes. We also book all county revenues coming in and invest all county funds. Right now we're working on identifying opportunities to provide better service through technology, hopefully trying to implement more opportunities to pay online.
Okay, excellent. And so some of the online opportunities, give us a little more detail about some of the efficiencies that your office has been working on.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've begun to offer paperless statements for the first time ever. Taxpayers can choose to sign up for e-notices, which will send an email to your email address,
Yep.
and then ultimately you won't receive your statement in the mail, USPS. We're hoping to get increased enrollment in that, but we're also identifying opportunities for people to continue to pay online with credit card, debit card, as well as with e-checks online, which is probably the best option for customers as it's the cheapest option.
Okay, great. And so most people who, everyone who has a mortgage, their mortgage company pays their taxes for them, right?
Absolutely. So mortgage companies pay in two different segments. By statute, you can pay by one full payment April 30th, or in two installments, first payment being due by February 28th, second payment coming due June 15th. So mortgage companies will submit payments on the half installments. Everyone else who doesn't have a mortgage has the option to do either as well. We've already passed the first installment, so if you haven't made a first installment, your next option would be to pay full installment by April 30th. Otherwise, just submitting the second installment by June 15th is everybody else's option.
Okay, great. And then so even if your mortgage company is paying your property taxes through your escrow account, you still receive a tax statement, right?
Absolutely. So by statute, we're required to send it to the taxpayer only. So we actually don't know if you have a mortgage. We send it to everybody at the address that is kept with the assessor. Ultimately, it's up to taxpayers to update their address with the assessor's office, which leads into our office.
Okay. So you two are a dynamic duo on that front.
We work together, yes.
Okay, great. So let's see. So as far as getting that statement, it's you see the whole breakdown of which taxes go to which taxing authorities.
Absolutely, you'll see a breakdown of all the taxing authorities that fall into your tax area. Everyone has some specific ones that fall into their areas, and then in addition, county, schools, etc., fall into every tax area.
Right, your fire district, all that.
Exactly.
Sort of things.
We really suggest that anyone who receives a statement in the mail who has a mortgage considers signing up for paperless statements, since ultimately, they're not responsible for submitting the payment. Their mortgage company will do so. You will always have access online to those statements historically, so no more needing to save those in a paper file.
Okay, great. So where can people go, Ryne, to find all this information online, to sign up for online payments, to make their tax payments online, find out all the dates and all that good stuff?
You can go to SUMMITCOUNTYCO.GOV/treasurer. From that page, you'll see a green button to click and pay now. Otherwise, you can navigate the page for a number of other options. Visit our tax archive to see past payments. Again, sign up for paperless statements, as well as to see a number of other things that we've done, including updates on our total collection for the year and distributions.
Okay, excellent. So one of the tax issues that we run across quite a lot here in Summit County as a community that is funded by an economic engine of tourism, we have a lot of short-term rentals here. And so there are some special property tax considerations that apply to owners of short-term rental properties. Frank, can you describe what those are to us?
Sure. As far as the property tax that people should be aware of if they're short-term renting, it is personal property taxes. And the statute that applies says that if your property is used at any time to generate income, the contents of your property, the furnishings, become taxable. And so there is a caveat to that you're exempted from paying if you have less than $7,700 worth of furnishings or contents to the unit. And so if you are short-term renting, you should be aware that there's a responsibility to file a personal property declaration with the Summit County Assessor's Office. The County Assessor's Office learns about properties that are being short-term rented through various means, and we keep a list, and we send out personal property declarations to everyone that we're aware of, but we also keep in mind the $7,700 exemption. And so I would say if you have questions as to whether you need to pay personal property taxes, then you should call the county assessor's office, and we'd be glad to discuss it with you and determine, because a lot of times when sales happen, we see that a small, older property in the county, we just know, given how the $7,700 exemption is determined, that the owner will not go over that $7,700 exemption.
Okay.
And so there is a bit of a balance where we don't want to be seeing everyone's property declarations when it turns out that they're going to be below the exemption level anyway. So I'd say the first step would be, if you have a question, that you call the office and we can discuss it with you.
Okay. And so then if it falls below that $7,700, then they don't go through the process of submitting the declaration to your office.
Correct. They're not required to.
Okay.
And so that's the personal property. From the real property side, there are no particular tax ramifications with regard to short-term rentals at this time under Colorado law.
Right. And that is a question I know that has been coming up in the planning department, where folks have heard about our new short-term rental regulations and wondering if there's a new tax. And in fact, there is not a new tax. These taxes have existed already.
Yes,
Predating the
back to
regulations.
1982, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. And then can you tell us a little bit about that declaration process? What does that involve?
It is literally a form that you can get online, or we can send it to you. And it is, it looks like an Excel spreadsheet. You can fill it out by hand, and you would list the properties individually, or the personal property pieces individually, and then total up the value on the form. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, great. And then that information then goes back to Ryan's office, and then
Yeah, it gets applied against, the value gets applied against the mill levy for the tax area, and we have a tax value.
all right. So let's see. One big activity, Frank, that your office is involved in odd-numbered years is sending out notices of valuation. So what are some key dates and what should and milestones in that process that people should be aware of?
Sure, and that is the big activity in the office these days. Our staff is working very hard to get the values of all of the properties in the county done by April 14th. And that is so we can get those to our printer in time to print up the notices of value that will be mailed out to taxpayers on May 1st. And I think many taxpayers are probably familiar with seeing the postcard that they get with their notice of value. But the notice of value is going to list what your new value is for 2019, and also it includes a form in the notice of value that you receive. It includes a form where you can protest that value, and this is all on a very small card, but that is very important for taxpayers to be aware that. Look for your notice of value in the first week of May, And if you don't agree, then make sure that you get your protest submitted to the assessor's office by June 1st. And that is the protest period. When the assessor's office receives the protests, we look at them and make a determination as to whether there should be a change to the initial value that we determined, or whether the taxpayers brought up some information that warrants a change to that value.
Okay.
And I think it's notable, Summit County has about 35,000 parcels improvements, so real property schedules that are going out every 2 years. And in 2017, we received protests from about 10% of a little bit under 10% of the property owners, and worked through those. And generally speaking, what we're looking for this year is probably similar to what happened in 2017 as far as number of protests, and that is based on, generally speaking, we're seeing about the same rate of increase that people saw from 2015 to 2017. We're seeing it from 2017 to 2019. And it's also, I think, worth noting that we're doing this to some extent in arrears. We collect the information that we base these values on. The cutoff date is June 30th of 2018, and then going back at least 2 years and looking at what the value will be based on those comparable sales. But now we're looking at, that was June of 2018, and now we're almost in April of 2019,
right.
And we're seeing the same rate of increase in value continue to this date. And I think that's notable because the last time we had a real abundance of protests was in 2009. And what happened was, people probably remember, but the real estate market crashed. But given the timing and the lag of data, the property values that came out in 2009 were reflecting the height of the market. And then by the time these notices came out in May of the following year, what we were seeing was a lot of people upset. And so we had about double the number of protests that time. We're not anticipating seeing that this time.
Because the value should be more reflective of real time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, that's great to think about. So, are there any other topics that people should be aware of any activities that are going on in either of your offices?
You know, I might add, with the notices of value going out, Frank and I partnered up, and we're going paperless together. So if you do decide to sign up, ultimately you'll be doing one code for both offices, with the ability to receive tax statements and tax notices and notices of value, et cetera, all in that capacity. So it's kind of hopefully a one-stop shop. So that's something to keep an eye out for if you are interested.
Two great tastes that taste great together.
I'd add one thing that we have going on. I think it's kind of interesting because Colorado's unique in this respect, is that the county assessor by state law gets audited by the state annually. We're the only state in the country that gets audited, and essentially it's looking at whether all the assessor's offices are doing their job according to the law. And I think that should give taxpayers some extra level of comfort with this. This is something that we've done annually. We've always passed it with flying colors, and just about, I think, mid-April, we'll be meeting with the auditor for this audit as well.
And we've only just begun.
Yeah, exactly. And, the Treasurer's Office participates in the annual county audit, so each year all funds collected and distributed are audited, so taxpayers can rest assured that money is getting where it's supposed to be.
Excellent. All right. Well, Frank and Ryne, great to have you in the SCTV studio.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will start our final segment and introduce you to our new Summit County Library Director.
All right. That was terrible. Thank you.
No, it wasn't.